Chapter 1. Aren't you tired? During the COVID-19 quarantine, it finally hit me. With our entire church culture shut down, the words had come out of my mouth several times. Then I started hearing others saying the same thing. Part of me doesn't want to go back to normal. Now, I'll admit that for me, the longing zeroed in on one specific thing. Even amid all the struggle and uncertainty of the quarantine, and even amid my strong desire for some parts of my world to restart as soon as possible, what I wasn't missing at all was the frantic pace. That feeling of living like a mouse on a wheel, continually running from one church responsibility to the next, and the overwhelm that almost always came with it. In many ways, the slower pace felt like such a gift, like I could finally relax and breathe a little bit. And I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it when the time came to start running all over again. As I thought more on life before the shutdown, I realized a huge part of my overwhelm came from the spiritual to-do list I'd given myself. Maybe you've lived with the very same list. Go to church, magnify your calling, get to the temple, take food to the neighbors, plan that activity, work harder at ministering, sign up for the service project, attend board council, feed the missionaries, do your family history. The demands and responsibilities go on and on. After experiencing the release of pressure that came with the quarantine, the thought of facing that huge checklist again filled me with dread. Mostly because I was tired, and a huge part of me didn't want to go back. But what other choice did I have? I mean, it's an honest question, right? If I loved the Lord and wanted to be a good member of his church, was there even any other option? In my mind, the entire structure of the gospel had always involved a try hard, do all you can do kind of mindset. I'd heard all the talks and lessons on the need to do better, and I took that to mean I had to step it up and do more and serve more and become more. So over the years, I'd recommitted myself again and again to keep tackling that same unending list of religious duties. Yes, sometimes I felt tired or depressed or really, really overwhelmed. But because I believed in the gospel and wanted to follow Jesus Christ, I felt like my only choice was to continue to press on and work as hard as I possibly could. No matter how stressed I got, I couldn't quit. I had to keep chipping away at all my spiritual responsibilities. It was the only way I'd ever make it to the celestial kingdom. Or was it? Truth is, I'd never even slowed down long enough to ask myself that question. And I couldn't keep my feelings buried any longer. I had to evaluate why I was living the way I was. Was the plan of happiness really supposed to be an extended marathon of chasing perfection and righteousness through an endless list of service and good works? Is that really what Jesus had in mind when he came to preach the good news? That's what the word gospel means, good news. But what's so good about having to work your fingers to the bone, trying to conquer a huge list of religious expectations? Is that really something to get excited about? Something to preach to the world as with the voice of a trump? Something so awe-inspiring and moving and wondrous that it causes us to rejoice and lift up our heart for gladness? I wasn't so sure. In fact, I had to be honest and admit that the heavy load of religious responsibilities I carried had become one of my biggest personal burdens. That mental list of duties and expectations was so long and daunting, so full of shoulds and shouldn'ts and do's and don'ts. It's no wonder my motivation was crumbling. My brain was saying, run faster, work harder, serve, serve, serve. But my heart just couldn't do it anymore. With that kind of overwhelming expectation bearing down on me, the gospel didn't feel like good news at all. I knew at last that something had to give.